XL should take the win here. I mean, they're the European Masters finalists, for goodness sake. They have got a lot of pedigree behind them.
I am going to make a bold prediction and say that after yesterday, they are either angry or have been whipped into shape by coach and staff and been told not to mess around on the Rift because, you know, we said we had questions in the early game. Agreed. Yesterday, it wasn't their early game, it was their mid to late game because they just completely disrespected Dusty to the point where it almost cost them the game. So let's see if they're just kind of strong from start to finish here, because yesterday, I think on cast we said we wanted to see something convincing. I wouldn't call yesterday convincing. Again, they've got, you know, a team which they should be kind of rolling over in Granit. Let's see if this one's convincing.
I'm keeping my eyes on Granit's jungler. Indecision. It's his first game in the NLC here. And I mean, a bit of a trial by fire, I would say, against BTXL. Maybe a teeny-weeny little bit right here. But hey, it might be, you know, something to shake up the Granit gaming lineup, and just, you know, the way they play hasn't been particularly inspiring so far. So you change that jungler out, it can totally change the way that you play the early game, which has been one of their weaknesses.
Well, we're going to see the Udyr come through from Marcoon, something he played pretty frequently through last season and through the European Masters. So he's very practiced on a champion that takes probably 2 fingers to play. So
that's about right.
Yeah, there you go. That's Udyr in a nutshell. Granit now have the choice to respond. They still have Renekton up. Like, Renekton's still a relatively solid blind solo lane pick, even with the Lee Sin down. But it looks like we are getting a Jinx. Okay, very early, just adding in that scaling element here for Granit Gaming.
Yeah, we definitely aren't. I would expect a jungler unless there's a high priority support that they want to pick up over anything else, because they know it is going to go into the jungle role. Or, of course, they could also pivot into a solo lane, but I'm expecting definitely probably jungle here. And of all things, it's actually going to be Nidalee, so trying to match the farming pace of the Udyr at the very least in the early game. But I'm always very critical of Nidalee unless it's, you know, Nidalee specialist players. Foxy, you definitely seem a little bit troubled by the Nidalee.
I don't like this at all. Yeah, sorry, I just don't like Nidalee into Udyr at all. It's like, so Nidalee is like so high variance, and like if you make it work properly, just as you're saying, like if you're a Nidalee master, she's brilliant. But the problem is, like, Udyr is just the complete opposite style of champion, in the sense that you just right click, and bad Udyr looks as good as the world's best Udyr, you know. So I just think it's too hard for Nidalee to play. Varus has slipped through and is being picked up here from BTXL. Varus into Jinx, I don't really know the lane matchup, but I do know that everyone in their nans is banning Varus. So
I'll give you input.
Please
Jinx doesn't like this lane. Jinx doesn't like any portion of play.
This has got to be a TK now, though, right? Surely you don't think against.
I feel like you want a defensive support for sure. Alistar can fit that bill, but yeah, certainly taking something like TK, especially when you've got, you know, these kind of ranged non-targeted CCs, would have probably made a lot of sense. And yeah, the problem with Jinx is she kind of suffers into the Chains of Corruption a lot just because of the range of it. You don't have to get crazy close to cast it. And Jinx just can't really do much other than have to flash or cleanse away any time that the Varus has it up. And it's a relatively short cooldown, even at rank 1 too. So there's a reason why Varus is banned permanently. And this is one of Jinx's harsher matchups. So let's see how Babel actually handles it.
We're going to get rid of the Lucian mid option here. Obviously, the classic AP AD hybrid from the mid jungle that we've seen quite a lot of people run is going to get taken off the board. So, I mean, when you're looking at AD mids outside Lucian, they're a little few and far between, unless you're willing to go more down like the Yone Yasuo builds or into something even more abstract like Zed. But, you know, Lucian has been popular in mid for a reason. He's one of the stronger AD mid champions. But he will be taken away. Looks like Silas is getting banned out here for Granit Gaming. So just paying respects maybe to Hatrix's mid Silas that we've seen a little bit of throughout the last sort of few months. Yeah, come on, Kenan, talk. For a few months. There you go.
Yeah, I think getting those mid lanes away is nice. One thing that's really hard about playing versus BGXL and specifically drafting against them is that they have the best top laner in the league. And so far, he's been absolutely beasting it up in that top lane. Like, the stats are just absolutely insane. It's like, you know, 20% damage share with like Marcoon, Deadly, Hatrix, and then Arame is like 36. It's just like I know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd.
That's ridiculous for a top lane.
And he's not being pinched. And I know he's got to have to blind pick, but still, he's not being pinched. He can pick whenever he wants to pick here. And there's still some very comfortable blind picks that you can pop off on. and that's exactly what I'm expecting Aurome to do this game.
Yeah, of all things, Renekton's slid through here, so if he wants to pick up the Renekton, I don't think there's much of a reason for him not to, unless of course he wants something like the Blind Jace, which both him and Pride, both the academy teams have put a lot of priority onto, and I feel like Jace has also just been a relatively present pick so far throughout the NLC. And yeah, very strong, adds to some of this poke that the Varus will be offering, can also assist on some of the dives as well when he gets into the melee form. So yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of the Jace here, and of course, very strong to play towards if you are the Udyr.
Yeah, you're lacking a bit of engage from Granit's side. I wonder if they're going to like try and pick something up to help with that. But at the same time, I think Hestira tends to go a little bit more towards like the bruiser types. I'm like, so he's already played Set once so far in the NLC. It's definitely a champion he's comfortable with. If he does get a little bit of help from Nidalee, I reckon you can set up some kind of ganks in the top side. Like, it's not the worst 2v2, and I do think Jace can make himself a bit vulnerable. But I don't imagine it's going to be a very happy time for Hess here on the top side with this Set into Jace matchup.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's one of those things that also gives a lot of carry potential over to Aurome. Like, I think there are very few like true carry tops that we're seeing come out now. You know, the era of Camille's and stuff have kind of like dropped off a little bit. So Jace is one of those few blindable carry top laners that doesn't have many really bad matchups in the top line. It also shuts down picks like Gnar, for instance, because that is like a terrible matchup for you to go into. So yeah, I like it. It's good. And also, as Foxy quite rightly said, Aurome is just the best top laner in our league, hands down right now. And so giving him a pick where he can have that kind of influence in the game is a pretty big deal, Jemada.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw what he did in the finals despite the loss there as well. So I think for XL, they're always going to be happy to chuck Aurome on picks like the Jason, just picks that want to take resources up on the map, because Deadly as well on the bottom side with Advian, they can be a very self-sufficient bottom lane.
Well, we've got the final game of the night. Orcs and Hitbrain are standing by, ready to take us through it. So let's see how it pans out.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Getting ready to go into our final game of the day, like you said, BTXL versus Granit. And, you know, XL, it feels like they've been given quite a lot of tools here, quite a lot of powerful picks. You got that Jace in the top lane, it's got a comfortable matchup. You got the Udyr in the jungle, arguably one of the strongest junglers at the moment. You got hat-tricks on the Akali, who really actually had some incredible performance this last split on that champion. And then Deadly on what's pretty much been a perma-band AD carry.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like BTXL are coming in with a better jungle pick, better AD carry pick, and favorable support pick as well. I feel like it's a bit of a rough one for Granit. And we saw the Nidalee earlier today. Obviously, he did really well for MC, but this is a different scenario. I feel like you don't have as much sort of lane strength, particularly around the bot lane. I feel like are going to struggle, and you're very reliant on strong laners to sort of facilitate that Nidalee. And as we said, you know, the Nidalee got rolling in that earlier game. It really popped off for them. But if Indecision starts to fall behind, it's just going to feel almost useless.
Well, it's the defensive line starting up here between the two teams. No, we've seen a lot of teams kind of group up and jump towards that bot lane, but I guess this time you haven't got the things like a Nautilus. I mean, you do have a Leona, but decided not to go for that. Ward just gets popped down by Granit. And it's just going to be a pretty standard start. So let's talk a little bit about pathing and the early game. What do you think the game plan is for both of these teams right now?
So I could see Markoon pathing towards bot initially. Although, as I say that, he's actually walking down towards bot side, so never mind. I feel like you have two options. You can either move towards bot, where they're going to be looking to shove in early on the level 1 wave, but typically, maybe the Nidalee's not really going to gank on that, so you can see an angle where bot push in, then it bounces back, you're fine. So I think maybe if what would make the most sense is Markoon pathing towards top lane and giving coverage for Aurome.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Jace wants to apply that pressure in the top lane. If he's left isolated, he can be punished by potential gank, especially as Nidalee's going to be pathing up towards there. Bot lane, depending on how it goes, there shouldn't even be a window for a gank, because XL are going to have priority level 1 because Alistair really isn't a champion at this point, and you have so much priority by from the Varus. So you can control the wave, shove it in, wave crashes, bounces back. It should be in a safe spot by the time Indecision is even available to gank.
Yeah, so it feels like probably playing through topside is probably the best plan right now for XL in the early game. Indecision, though, what do you think his plan is now then? So he's kind of clearing upwards as well through his jungle. So we'll be matching Markoon and we'll be around the area.
I think top lane is the only lane you can actually gank like early levels, assuming you want to gank. top lane is the one, because obviously Set has the setup. Like, he can go towards bot later on, but it's not really a thing early levels. So I honestly feel like Indecision can just go for a clear and then look to sort of go for a scuttle. The problem is mid lane does have priority, so it kind of depends on what Muta's doing at the time, because I think your other two lanes are really going to be struggling to lean and assist. And typically, if you don't have priority in your side lanes, you should go towards top side, because if AD carry and support roam, then you're really in a rough spot.
Saying, this is what we expect from the Akali Orianna lane.
Missing
early.
cannons.
Missing cannons.
For shame.
Not that.
Yeah, Meat actually doing a pretty good job just to apply that pressure early. I mean, we're seeing, look at this bot lane already. They're just, I mean, I know there's obviously a wave stacking up, but it's just very little you can do in this matchup in the early levels, just because Varus so good at applying pressure and finding priority, and Leona is a really solid matchup into Leona. We did actually see Indecision able to get that scuttle and then get out again. Had that mid priority, but didn't really need it.
Yeah, he's going to try and run bot lane, realizes that XL are just going to roll their bot lane up towards this crab. So Marcoon sure loses the top crab, but will be able to pick up this one, so he'll be okay.
Yeah, there's no way you ever get this bot side scuttle. Bot lane having priority and that much control, they're easily going to be able to move, and Advian obviously does. And that's the thing. In top lane, if you make your top laner move, they're suffering from losing CS, but in the bot lane, your AD carry can stay and farm and just the support moves over. So looking out pretty all right, but I think this is still fine for Granit. It's just really seeing what Indecision looks to do. Bot lane opens up as an option as we get into the game, and he should be heading towards the bot side, but I actually really like this ward that's been placed down on his Gromp. So Indecision is going to go for a reset, head towards this. He's going to be spotted out, so it's not like Deadly and Advian are going to be vulnerable to any ganks that they don't see coming.
Yeah, the pings obviously went down as well, so they know it's there. They know that they can play around this knowledge. Markin is also technically in the area as well, as he is now starting his next clear, doing his Gromp. Indecision actually went to go finish that camp before going for the reset, so he is a little bit slower on the clear than Marcoon right now. Marcoon's been to base, picked up the Lucidity boots, while Blasting Wand's been finished up for Indecision. Yeah, and XL just going to continue to keep this pressure in the bot lane, continue to mount that up. Top lane, we haven't actually seen too much of so far. Arome does have a slight CS lead, although his Zero probably will actually be ahead by the end of this wave, to be honest. Arome not being able to apply quite as much pressure as maybe we would have liked to, at least not being reflected in the CS deficit.
Yeah, he is definitely choking the setup. But honestly, Set does all right into these sort of heavy harass lanes just because he has so much like innate sustain from his passive. Yeah, and he's free to use abilities to farm with as well, because obviously he doesn't have any mana. Okay, nice buffer there for Advian. It's not relevant at all. This doesn't change anything, but it was...
Well, hold the wave, actually. I pulled the wave back out of tower aggro.
I guess. I feel like he probably would have been able to do that anyway, but...
Probably.
You know, he could have just walked it out again. But, I mean, it looked cool, and yeah, it did the job, so... Why not?
If you're going to do it right, do it well. Do it cool.
Yeah, do you see Marcoon moving up here just to relieve some pressure? Because obviously, Rome is really tentative about pushing forwards now that that control ward's been placed in the Tribe Rush, and he knew Indecision was there. So Marcoon moves up. This means Arome should be able to crash this in, and I expect he's looking for a reset on the back of that. Spend that gold, get a little bit more pressure, because you have to be a bit careful at this point. Obviously, we talked a bit about how there's that setup for the Set who can provide for the Nidalee, lock the Jace down. Now that the ult's available...
Yeah, it's just going to slam him in underneath the tower. Rome has to instantly flash, has the pop back, almost hit by the Haymaker. Rome just able to survive that one. That is now flashless Jace, and you're talking about the setup. That setup just became a little bit easier to kind of follow up with.
It was a really solid play from Hezero. And the only unfortunate thing was the Haymaker just did barely any damage because he didn't have any grit stacked up. But was fairly close, actually, to taking Arome down. It was a quick flash to make sure he only took that one tower hit. You see on the other side of the map, BHXL is going to easily pick up that dragon. This pressure in the bot lane has been pretty unrelenting. But in fairness, Daybro hasn't been losing any farm for it. So all things considered, I'm not too concerned.
No, not at all. Advian might be looking here. They got the Chains of Corruption onto the cow. He has no cleanse, but they pop him under. And that is just going to be the end of Advian as Zero chasing onto Deadly. First blood picked up for Baybroad. There's the face breaker. And Deadly is going to lose his life as Zero secures the kill. Granit punishing XL beautifully there.
Yeah, not the greatest decision there. I mean, I think it was just a moment where you're like, oh, we hit level 6, let's go. But it's like you're engaging onto an Alistair next to a turret. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out what's going to happen there. And it was really well executed by Granit. I will give them fair play on that. And the quick TP response means they're able to get 2 kills instead of just 1. But pretty disrespectful from BTXL. There was no real setup. It was kind of just like, oh, we're 6. Do you want to try for a kill? And then backfired quite heavily.
Well, the lane swap's coming out either way. XL are, because they died first, means they're back on the rift quicker. That's what it was all about. They wanted to lane swap faster.
Yeah.
And they've got the tempo on it, Orcs.
Yeah, and now Deadly gets this massive wave. So
yeah.
all planned.
Sometimes our brains just can't comprehend just how big
yours certainly
these teams are. Hey, man, you didn't see that coming either.
Yes, I definitely didn't see the merit in suiciding in a 2v2.
Oh, it was like a 5v5 by the end of it, but yeah. It does mean XL, though, are in the area to try and contest this Rift Herald. The Dragon's already secured by them, so they want to kind of keep the pace up as that cow is really finding a lot of Leonas here. Another headbutt is going to land onto both of them, and Marcoon's low, getting taken out slowly as Hatrix comes in. There's the rocket. Advian loses his life. Hatrix.
They're actually out.
Does not perfectly execute at all there. And XL,
Hope for a replay on that one, but Granit coming up huge here. Honestly, they managed to get that kill, and somehow both Wixu and Indecision managed to get out. You can see PTX actually looking for a bit more. Who's found who?
Oh, nice jump. Into thin air, but they're able to kill themselves a cow. This Rift Herald as well. The spear's going to get dodged. They've got that shockwave, but it's easily dodged away. The smite to hell for the moment as Hatrix is coming in. Can he find that shuriken flip? No, he can't. The Rift Herald is low. The smite fight is on, but neither jungler has smite, so this is just a full-on coin flip. As now Advian comes in with a Zenith Blade. XL are turning the heat up, and they're looking to run these Granit members over. Advian standing in the middle of everyone as Hatrix is trying to find a kill, unable to connect as Advian will secure it. As XL will pick up the Rift Herald.
Man, things were looking so good for Granit, and then they just get greedy and they overcommit so heavily. The thing is, in these early game fights, spawn timers are so short that unless you're instantly able to take the Herald, unless you wipe them all off the map, they're going to be returning and coming back in. And there's definitely some mechanical misplays there. There's no reason you should ever miss a shockwave on a target with no speed boost, no flash. And with a replay here, so I mean, going on the Alistair, not obviously the best target, but they do manage to chunk him out. It's just the follow-up damage isn't there. Hatrix, a little bit of a poor target assignment there. Could have killed Indecision or Wixu, but ended up just splitting damage between them. And then here, actually going to go back because it looks like we're getting more for play.
Still got no flash. He's going to dodge the spear. May use the take to the skies to get inside Indecision's pocket. Able to dodge away as the shot blast goes wide, but that's the spear. That's the slam. His Zero able to survive this. Not even going to take that final tower shot. He's fine.
And you know what? I remember coming in this game, it was like Arome is the best top in the league. And I 100% agree with that. But he is not looking like it this game. He's been solo killed. He just got caught on a gank. Was in a pretty rough spot earlier. S0's honestly just been outplaying him so far.
S0's had an absolute corker of a game. Now, with the Rift Herald in the pocket of BTXL, looks like they are going to try and funnel a bunch of plates and gold onto Deadly. Marquinhos just stealing away this camp. He'll probably plop this down, and I'd like to see them not share the gold here. Advian staying out of range. See if they can give Deadly that plate solo, that final plate. But it looks like that's not going to be the case here. They do want to split it between him and Marcoon.
Well, the gold coming in. And there's a really response to come out from Granit. They can't take the bot tower, a bit too healthy and no one in position. So essentially BTXL is getting a bunch of cash funneled onto them. Still, it's not put them in too significant of a lead. It's only about 400 at this point. But you do see it's a pretty significant gap between the AD carries. And remember, Varus is a champion who's going to get his spikes a lot cheaper and sooner than the Jinx.
Oh, Hatrix caught out with the headbutt, dodges the spear. Hatrix should be fine now. The Romy, he's pretty mad right now, but he takes a spear for the shot blast.
No, he used to be on mad.
Oh. That's where I'm getting muddled up.
Yeah. See them grouping to contest this dragon. This would be the second for BTXL. I feel like they're in an okay position to contest this one, but you do have to be cautious. That Alistair Orianna combo really threatening. TP is coming in though. Looks like it's going to be a 5v5.
This is going to be a scrappy one as well. We take stock of the ultimates. Avian's still not got level 6, so no solar flare. Rome's just continuing to poke. The chains hit onto the target. They get the lockdown. There's the shockwave. Hatrix is interrupted and the slam comes in. His Zero able to take him out as Baberor doing all of the work. Markian on the back line, unable to do anything else here. It's a double kill already picked up for Baberor. Deadly trying to poke Advian all alone as Wixo running around. And he has nowhere to go. The tower shots are coming in and Advian is slowed. Indecision should be able to tidy this one up. The solar flare to try and catch the kitty cat, but Advian is going to run away. But he can't run away hard enough. Indecision will secure the kill. Rome too low. Deadly has no business to contest this. And Granit are just destroying XL in these team fights.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty rough start for Granit initially, but they managed to find the success. And realistically, I just think it's so hard to get onto this backline right now unless you're finding a good flank. We can get the replay, and you actually see Wixo make a pretty big misplay on this one with the Pulverize not being used very well in this situation. I believe he gets rooted here by the Varus, who just pulverizes the ground, but look at what Hesero does on the backline. Completely disrupting these carries, and just meaning there's no follow-up on this engage from the rest of the team. Deadly's done barely anything other than that initial ult. Arome's not able to threaten very much. Oh, Marcoon looking for Baberor. I don't think he can kill him there. But ultimately, this was, again, this set... Hesero just doing so much work to find space for his team. And really, he's been a thorn in the side of XL so far this game.
Hesero's just honestly had an absolute blinder. He's played so well this game. Sure, he's down in farm, but he has had some impact to his team right now. Hatrix not having particularly the greatest game, and same for Advian, unfortunately, and Arome. Like you were saying at the beginning, well, earlier on. Rome was kind of one of those players who we do rate as the best top laner in the league. Had a really good performance at the European Masters Finals, even if they didn't win.
I mean, throughout EU Masters, honestly, he was on fire.
Yeah. Now he is on the receiving end of a lot of love from Hesero.
Bear in mind, when you look at this, beating BTXL is an achievement for anyone in the league. Maybe less so for Fnatic, but for most, like every team, it is pretty big to be able to beat or even just challenge BTXL. But Granit came into the split with pretty low expectations. A lot of people felt like they'd be one of the weaker teams, if not the weakest. Oh, and they're looking to start things off.
There's the flash, there's the pole, there's the shockwave. Not going to quite hit the mark as they get the shot blast off as well. Arome comes in, a beautiful solar flare will lock down 3, and Markian flashes in. Deadly has to dodge to the zaps and the spears, and he is low HP. XL able to find themselves a couple of kills, but the amount of damage they put to Deadly not really able to contribute too much more towards that fight.
Yeah, but it's one of those situations where you overcommit when Deadly has flash, and that's a difference maker. If Deadly was flashless, they would have instantly killed him and got that fight off to a really good start. But if you're committing under tower, you have to factor these things in. A player of the caliber of Deadly isn't going to just sit there and let the shockwave connect. And as a result, you end up giving a fair bit of gold over to XL, who have actually claimed the gold lead now.
Let's take stock of the items right now, because Deadly's only just finished up this Prowler's Claw. Baberor's had that Kraken Slayer for quite a while, now sitting on the Zeal. Going towards what will either be a Phantom Dancer or the Hurricane. Might actually be a Hurricane, just because the amount of team fighting we've had. And, you know, outside of Deadly, XL are all... Well, I suppose a Rome with the Shot Blast as well, but, you know, when those abilities are down, it's actually fairly short range for XL.
Yeah, I feel like the thing with Hurricane, though, is, like, you need to be in a... I don't think there's that many scenarios where you hit multiple people.
True.
Just because, you know, like there's compositions where you have a bunch of like frontliners in melee range or just a bunch of people in melee range, but here it's going to be like, I feel like there's not that many scenarios. You're going to be hitting like 3 people with the Hurricane, but maybe it finds some value. It's pretty hard to necessarily tell. I think Rapid Fire might be better just because it allows you just to connect from a longer range. But yeah, it is PD, going for that consistent damage. And that's the critical thing, is like Jinx is going to scale very well. Orianna's going to scale very well. The Varus and the Jace are really starting to spike now, though, especially when they get like their second item in. That's where they're doing just a ton of damage.
Oh, Rome wants to jump into Indecision, does a lot of damage to him thanks to that Eclipse. Dodges out on the spear. There's the chains onto Indecision, and he is locked down. The solar flare just about dodged. Can this arrow hit its mark? Indecision, no. Able to dodge away, and Wixo has found himself a bear man as he gets the pole, he gets the ulti, and now he's getting chased down. Advian comes in with the Zenith Blade to lock him in place. They're trying to see if they can save the cow. Indecision's going to give him a quick heal, and this fight is on. The teleport is there. His Zero's looking to join, and that might just be enough to scare XL away. He's got that face breaker. He's just going to have to slam one back as the traps are laid down, and Baybro is on a killing spree. 4-1 on the Jinx. XL will lose this mid lane turret, and Hatrix, no teleport available, is unable to join that skirmish.
I do like the BTXL going for the split pressure, but I feel like they are trying to contest pretty hard, all things considered. Dragon is the next objective to be set up for, but currently Deadly, 0 mana available, and Advian on half HP. I'm not sure how good their contest of this one's going to be in this situation. They're going to have to wait for Deadly to get back, and that gives a window for Granit to push in. In fairness, though, we do see Indecision a little bit chunked out, but he is just going to be able to heal that up. Not too concerning. And I think Granit should take this opportunity to try and get control. Vision is so vital in a game like this where you have long-range skill shots like the Shock Blast and the Piercing Arrow. It makes such a big difference whether XL has vision of their opponents and can fire from out of vision themselves. See that, obviously, so just dodges it away.
The Dragon going a little bit low already. XL unable to answer in. Have got these arrows, trying to find a bit of poke, but XL unable to do so. That ball is doing a great job of actually zoning XL and stepping forward, and there's the 3-man shockwave. It's already done. XL losing members left, right, and center. The face breaker melts everyone, and XL are wiped from the rift. Hatrix can do nothing but watch as he is chased down, jumps into Wixo, and he just gives himself over, finds a quick kill. But that is the ace for Granit. They are destroying XL in this game.
And the only consolation prize is the Baron still isn't up. Otherwise, Granit certainly would have gone and taken it. They absolutely crushed that fight. And again, Zero is absolutely on fire on this set. Just did so much work there, clumping everyone together, allowing the Jinx to excel. And it feels like BTXL, they aren't finding the poke they need. They're not able to get it down. The flank from Hatrix was far too late, and ultimately they're just not finding the success in these team fights. You look at the health bars of Granit. Baybro gets chunked a tiny bit, but he's fine. They get that initial kill, and then watch Zero here. Huge combo on top of the Super Mega Death Rocket. Instantly obliterates 3 people, and then Hatrix is still trying to look for the flank, but isn't able to. Gets CC'd, does manage to find the Alistair, but it's just complete decimation in these team fights from Granit.
They are just out fighting XL at every opportunity. It's really, really good to see. And this actually kind of harks back to what we were hearing from Scoundrel in his interview at the beginning of the day, where he kind of hits on the, it feels like the other teams are starting to catch up to the Academy teams. It's not the Academy teams being weaker. Now, I don't think this is a full strength XL, but we are seeing teams that typically wouldn't have challenged them resolve with their first game versus XL. Sure, they didn't win, but they made XL look weak. They challenged them in areas, and this game is Granit playing incredibly well and playing smart as well. They're not just rolling over. Now, the Herald's going to get summoned in the bot lane. That's just more of kind of it was about to time out, so they have to use it.
Baron on the cards. If there's another team fight like that, where Granit are winning 4-0, that's Baron gone. And that might actually get to the point where it just becomes very difficult for BTXL to get back in the game. Indecision now 2 levels up on Markoon, by the way.
Oh, just half health him with a cheeky combo as well. You got Baybro, who's got an entire item over Deadly. Deadly's not finished that Manamine up yet, and he's now working towards, which I assume will be his Infinity Edge as his 3rd item, and that is a terrifying spike for the Jinx. XL must be scratching their heads. They must be figuring what's their next game plan. They have CC, they have a Wombo combo, they have poke as well, but they're just unable to land it. They're unable to make it stick. And Wixo has been kind of pulling these snap engages for the team that have been setting them up. I wouldn't let his scoreline actually reflect how much impact he's been able to have in some of these fights.
He's just not a KDA player.
Yeah, not a KDA player. Player for the team.
I think realistically, what we need to see is we need to see Hatrix ideally, but honestly, just anyone, find a flank and get some backline access. If Baybro and Muta are just alive in the backline, free hitting, able to get the damage off, you're not winning the fight. And I think BTXL's composition is proving to be much more difficult to execute on. Granit can just play front to back and they will win. And I think when it comes down to playing front to back or having to find this backline access, particularly with a comp like BTXL, we're not in the Hecarim meta anymore where you can just charge down and run down any AD carry. This is very much like you have to find good setup, good flank angles. And BTXL, you saw them try with hat-tricks in the last fight, but if the timing's not there, they're not really able to find it. And the critical thing is that all Granit have to do if they start feeling a flank coming is engage before there's a chance for the flankee to get in position. Well, the flanker, sorry, they're the flankies.
Sounds like a weird hanky brand. Flanky hankies.
I'd buy a flanky hanky.
I would.
What would be the unique selling point? Hit me with it.
It comes from the side. I don't know. I think I'll let
I am no longer buying a flanky hanky.
I'll let the nerds decide how to make this work. I'm the marketing guy.
Wow, you did a great job marketing that.
Look, I need a product to market first, right? XL are just not landing this poke.
No, it's like in the Wolf of Wall Street where it's like, sell me this pen.
What's the unique selling point of the pen?
That's
I actually haven't seen. This is really bad. I haven't seen Wolf on Wall Street.
Well, I don't know, that's that bad, but you have to like. That's the whole point. You just have to like. The whole point of selling is you make the selling point. You make it interesting. Come on, Jake. This is marketing 101.
Yeah, but I need the flanky hanky to. I need something substantial about this flanky hanky. Otherwise, it's just a handkerchief marketed at kids, I guess.
You say League of Legends players are kids. Okay, there's a team fight, Bruno. We can discuss this later. It does look like the flank is trying to be set up by hat-tricks there. He has the flanky hanky in position. Will he be able to find it?
Can he find it? The dragon's been started. Wixo taking a lot of poke. This is what XL want to do. They don't want to fight. They want to poke. They want to shot blast. And they want to find the kill. Deadly takes out Wixo. Granit go, you know what? Have the dragon. We're cool with it.
Still poke if you just kill them? that damage that came off from Deadly. Absolutely execute them. I mean, we were talking about these 2-item spikes being pretty substantial for BTXL. But I mean, that was just a perfect window. They had the vision critically. They had wards over the wall so they could see exactly where Granit was. And the thing is, with these poke champions like Jace and Varus, they do so much damage that it doesn't really matter who you hit. If they're clumped up in a choke point, as long as you're hitting someone, it doesn't really matter. Like, they're hitting the Alistair, which obviously you'd love to be able to be hitting the Jinx or the Orianna. It doesn't matter because the Alistair just ends up dying. I'm gonna get the replay. Yeah, really nice ward just where the blue buff is. You can see actually Wixo goes for the sweeper because he's like, how are they seeing me? Doesn't catch that ward and just so much damage coming through. Pretty obscene, honestly. Don't even need the flanky hanky.
It was the two item spike. This is what you were hitting on. This was XL strength, and they've now got those 2 items. Rome might be finding himself getting shockwaved and speared. The minion playing some hero stuff there, but Indecision will just flash to secure the kill. He got flanky hankied.
He got flanky hankied, but it was only from one direction, so I guess he just got hankied.
All right, we're gonna have to figure out a system for this.
Yeah. You see them toying with Baron?
The floating cow.
Yeah, I saw that earlier, and I was like, I don't know.
Oh, Azira's KDA just got ruined.
I had Gore Drinker up.
He did.
I don't know if that'd been enough, but either way, ends up losing that 1v1.
That was close.
And that was a big shutdown, going to hat-trick's pocket. So Azira, who we praised throughout this game for good reason, ends up giving over a pretty large amount of gold to hat-tricks in this situation. It's not really going to amount to anything, but
I mean, he's tied with Muta now, and Muta has 10 assists worth of gold on him.
Yeah.
And a big CS lead, so that shutdown was impactful.
Oh, sure. It's just it's not going to lead to any, like, they're not going to, like, get Baron off the back of it. Yeah. But he has actually burned his flash, which I think is pretty significant for a set. Because just being able to flash ult someone, kind of broken. Limits the need for a flanky hanky, you could say. And yeah, this Alistair's still just floating everywhere. I saw that earlier and I was like, am I just like, I don't know, man. It's so warm in this room. I'm like, oh, my glasses steaming up and I see something.
He's just hallucinating from the heat.
Yeah, he's just walking on sunshine.
Whoa. Jamad always gets in hysterics when he sees this bug.
Pretty good.
It's been in for a very long time as well. It's been in for a really long time.
Do you remember that bug? The one where it's like Nautilus and Draven would get it a lot, where they'd just be like locked in an animation.
Oh yes, where like they'd throw their dredge line and then he'd just be floating, holding the dredge line outwards.
Yeah, and you got one with Draven as well, where like he's like posing almost, so, like surfing about almost.
Yes, he had his arms in the air, posing. Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, some great League bugs. Honestly, they shouldn't even fix those ones. Like, keep the floating Alistair in the game.
Well, they in the end kept the Zac one, where Zac now just runs every now and then when he uses his elastic slingshot.
Oh yeah.
They kept that as part of the game now because they were like people like it.
Anyway, focusing back in on things. Still a goal lead for the side of Granit, pretty substantial, and a lot of that towards that Jinx. We've now seen with 3 items plus some little bonuses in the stopwatch, the Cloak of Agility. But it's Exile who have control of the area. Face checking into the poke, and again, dealing with those 2-item power spikes, very difficult for Granit. You can see Hazero is able to hold hat-tricks in the side lane, but obviously has to play a bit more safe, as didn't win that last 1v1. And I think if you lose a 1v1 and you give the opponent like a massive shutdown, I don't think you go for another 1v1. I think you just gotta go, okay.
He doesn't have the magic resist as well to be able to deal with it. So probably best for him just to kind of catch waves for the moment until he feels a little bit more comfortable. This poke is now starting to really shut Granit down. Granit have been doing some great team fights this game, but now they are paying the prices. The arrow, and they just trim about 1/3 of Vapor's health off.
Yeah, I like how the Q from Varus just so easy to hit on anyone. Oh,
Wixo, that's the shockwave.
Ooh.
Then he has to flash away, goes for the chains, and here's the arrow. The shock blast goes wide. I mean, they went for it.
The shockwave is just a bit too late. That was actually a really nice engage from Wixo, but Mida just wasn't fast enough to match on the trigger, and then as a result, Deadly can flash out and go back to terrorizing Granit.
Although the shockwave's already half off cooldown, they've got not a lot left on that, so they're pretty comfortable to chill. As hat-tricks on the old flanky wanky, trying to see if he can come through. Can he find it? Yeah, I know what I said, don't worry. The shock blast hits Muta. There's Wixo jumping into Avian. That's going to force this flash out. Deadly's chunk. Hat-tricks comes in on the flank and secures himself the kill. Keep it together, Orcs, because XL, they've got it together. They got a double kill onto Hat-tricks. Zero will eat the Shuriken flip, but they're not going to finish him up for a triple. The dragon is secured for XL.
Good team fight all together. I'm sorry.
Look, man, I'm actually holding it together for that team fight. You can hold it together.
Okay, so I mean, again, his issue is Adrian with a nice flash away, and they do find a flanky hanky from hat-tricks. He's able to cut in through these members, and he's just doing so much damage. The execute coming through, and Granit just not in a position to step up. These power spikes really driving XL forward, and it's just the poke coming out from Deadly. It allows him to sort of contribute from such a distance. Typically, we look at Jinx as quite a long-range AD carry, but it just kind of doesn't compare to being able to just fire one big arrow from such a large distance and be able to factor that in with how much damage hat-tricks needs to execute a target. Really powerful. Obviously, Jinx does have that super mega death rocket, much longer cooldown than these piercing arrows. Honestly, does Varus even need the red buff? Is he auto-attacking that much? Could have just given it to a teammate.
He wants the regen. That's what it's about.
True.
I mean, who uses it better than him right now? I guess no one really. Maybe a Rome?
Give it a Markoon, honestly. Give it a hat-trick, that extra damage when you're going in.
Yeah, give it an Advian.
Like, Deadly's just staying at like 9,000 range, firing arrows.
Yeah, and he already has the slow from the Shoulder's Grudge. This is actually quite rough.
You try convincing your AD carry.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
You're not giving the red buff. I don't think it's worth it, man. I don't think it's worth destroying the synergy between the team just over, like, who gets the red buff.
The crab was actually secured there by Granit, so they're able to get some permanent vision around the Baron area, and Granit do still have fighting capabilities. Remember, this game is still gold lead-wise in favor of Granit. XL do have to be careful. Babral's going to eat the shot blast. The Ash Arrow comes through. They're going to jump in for the slam. There's the flash. There's the lockdown. The great traps are actually laid down to block him for the moment, but his zero just too low. He can't step up anymore. And one last arrow may just seal the deal. Marcoon flashes forward, and the shot blast comes in. His zero heals up a fair amount, but not quite enough. And Hatrix, once again on the flank, not going to pull that trigger.
One of those scenarios where you want the AD carry and you end up getting the support, and the difference is pretty significant. And you're able to survive that damage just with how tanky this Leona is, and also ends up taking down a zero. He does have 30 seconds in the spawn time and TP come up soon. I don't think they're going to go for the Baron here. But it does allow even more pressure to a mount in the side lane. Hatrix looking to take that tower, and I think should have it.
It should be able to get that. I'd actually like to quickly have a look at the damage between the total damage dealt this game, because Arome and Deadly are probably doing some pretty big numbers. Hopefully we have that graphic ready.
I think Deadly's like at least 7.
At least 7.
Yeah.
Maybe 8.
More than 7. Yeah, that's a safe bet. But yeah, I mean, Oh, we are getting it. There we go, Jake.
Oh, that is disgusting.
There's
correct. A 7 in there.
It was at least 7. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Varus does so much damage with just like a single arrow, but when you're hitting multiple members as well, it's just pretty crazy.
And what do Granit need to do now? Because the poke is becoming too oppressive for them. They do have good wave clear. So as long as the Baron doesn't go down, they should be okay. But is that their only thing? Is just hope the Baron doesn't die? Because that can't be your game plan.
I think their engage is the idea, the concept has been good. But the problem is, like, the execution's been a bit off. They're not finding any clanky hankies, you know? They're just kind of going forwards, and it's quite hard to do it when Deadly has his ult slow you down, and often when he has flash. If they can find a way where Hesteria gets on a flank, or even Wixo on a flank on the Alistar, similar to like how Hillisang looks for those, then they could honestly just storm a team fight. But the thing is, if you're not engaging on this Varus and Jace, you're just going to get poked down, and it feels horrible. So...
Right.
And the problem is as well is BTXL are using this flip pressure from Hatrix to kind of put Granit in position. It's like, are you going to engage, or are you going to answer the Akali in the side lane? Because the moment you see Muta was moving over to answer the Akali, but now they're looking for an engage, so he has to come back.
Yeah, they're going for it. They've got themselves Deadly. No, it's only one. Advian's low HP. Babral's putting the damage down. A lot of piercing arrows are landing as that shot blast goes through the goalpost, and Hatrix is on the flank. His zero is all alone, and Wixo is low. Hatrix just about slides out to safety after shutting down the cow. The ball is in place, and Muta is chunked so low. But Granit is still taking over. Babral's got himself a shutdown. He's got himself more kills. Muta holds his life, and Granit come out on top of the team fight.
They actually managed to spin that one. The re-engage from BTXL didn't actually favor them. They end up committing too hard, and Marcoon, I think they're just going to end. It's 40 seconds on any of the carries. They have a wave. He needs to go in and smite the cannon. It's the only way to shut this down. He needs to kill the minion wave. He really doesn't have time to play around. They are shredding through these towers.
You got a Jinx with 4 items. These towers are nothing. They are butter. The zero will tank the towers. The Nexus will fall. And XL are handed their loss. Granit take them down.
Wow. What? I mean, just coming into this season, I think most people had everyone pretty much had the opinion BTXL are #1. And a lot of people had the opinion that Granit were at the bottom. And to take them out in such a manner, it wasn't even like it was sort of like a fluke game. And it wasn't like XL just sort of rolled over and gave it to them. They were fighting back. There was some really strong setups from XL with a poke, but the team fighting, they managed to find not even a great engage on the back end, but just managed to clutch it with some really solid play. Babro in particular on the Jinx, racking up so many kills and just able to clean up. And then the decision to go straight for the end on the back of that and get themselves a win. Fierce defeat for XL as well so far during this split.
An absolutely incredible game there for Granit, and that is going to shake everything up in the standings over in Group A. Just completely throw the spanner in the works for XL. It's brilliant. I can't wait to speak to the teams and see exactly what they thought about that. Well, whoever we've got for our interview. I think it's time for us, though, to pass it over to Scoundrel to break down today's action and that Granit win over BTXL.